It is Brian White Day. Everybody's been waiting and waiting and waiting for Brian White Day because why not? I mean, it's sometimes it's even fun.
Rarer still, it's informative. So I'm just glad to be here.
All right. Well, talking about informative, we have a guy this morning. He calls himself, what's he call himself? Hunting Alpha is his
Mm.
name, is he goes by. And he says, I continue to be bearish on Tesla due to mounting challenges in its current business and seemingly over optimistic expectations on new developments such as Robotaxi. So he comes out with this morning. I thought he picked a particularly good day to do this since the stock last time I checked has jumped up about 20 points or something today. So good timing, Hunting Alpha. So his three concerns, and I thought maybe you could address these. I'll just take these one at a time. He says the removal of the EV tax credits can exacerbate delivery volumes even further. I guess he means by that delivery volumes are down, and so this would exacerbate them in that negative way. They would drop even into lower numbers. What do you think is going to happen to volumes in Q3, Q4, Q1, Q2?
Sure.
What's your theory?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out what a fantastic name, Hunting Alpha. If you've got to put that you're a hunter and an alpha in your handle, I think you're very macho and cool. So let's talk about that because that is a real concern. Maybe not so much for Tesla. It's definitely a concern for some automakers. If you have the reality is there's a lot of automakers that just never qualified in the first place. The rules keep getting tighter as designed. But the only way Tesla could come out ahead on this is if they find a way to improve their cost of goods sold. Now, they've done that in the past, right? Like
Yeah.
almost every quarter for the last, well, since the pandemic crunch. So that's not going to get you 7,500 though, but it's going to help. Another helping factor is car loan interest can be deductible. So if you're financing a car, which most people are, that's a bit of help. But also Tesla's got some other tricks up their sleeve. The Model Y still has another model coming out. The Model Y Performance has not yet dropped. There are people who bought launch edition Model Ys because they wanted the new hotness, who will trade them in for a performance model that they actually wanted. We know we're going to get the third row at some point. We don't know if it's going to be based on the Model Y long range or if we're going to get the Model Y L. But the Model Y L, should it be released in the US, which I am absolutely confident it will drive sales even further because it's a bigger car and the US loves bigger cars. I've seen comments on my video saying, nope, it's a China exclusive, to which I say, why? Tesla's never done a single market exclusive before. Cybertruck comes close, but not for a lack of trying to get it in other markets. And by the way, just today we found out it has been approved for road sale, for road licensing in China.
Oh,
There
wow.
are no, it'll have to come in through a second country at the moment because Tesla has not set up that distribution channel, but they're gonna. And that may further accelerate the demise of the Model X in China because every showroom has a Model X. It's a showstopper. It's a cool looking car. But the Cybertruck will bring more feet through the door. And so they could wind down X sales officially in China, put the Cybertrucks in every showroom, get more foot traffic, more sales. So in the US, they've got more models coming. They've got more ability to do price controls, cost controls to keep the prices down. And even with the incentives going away, it is still value for money.
You did forget to mention the Model Q.
Oh, yes, because that's not coming in Q3, we don't think, unless the Model Q is the YL, the
Hmm.
slightly larger Model Y. Yes, if you can get me a more affordable car, something more affordable than the Model 3 rear-wheel drive, you're going to move some units, especially for rideshare folks, because you're already paying, depending where you charge. If you're charging at home, you're paying 80, 90% less for your fuel, 100% less for your maintenance, 100% less for your brakes. It's a car that makes sense. And because it's a Tesla, it's also comfortable. It's also easy. It's the easiest car you've ever driven. And I could say that for the most part, electric cars are very easy to drive, but some are more fun than others. I drove the Honda Prologue recently, and I was deeply disappointed in the experience overall. It was terrible. It's a first effort from GM, but it is not a great car.
So then his second comment, his second thought. So I'm with you. I think, quite frankly, I think that their numbers in quarter four could be quite the quarter.
Well, and in
quarter
Q3,
three,
we've got
will be fine.
quarter three is going to be fine. We're going to have a mad dash to the finish line. Tesla's ramping up production in anticipation of that crunch. It's going to be fine. But Q4 and beyond, I think we're on the same page.
Yes, yes. Okay, so then we have, he says, the bullish Robotaxi Dream may be further away, and even when it gets realized, may disappoint expectations. So what do you think about that? Are we going to have 1 million by next fall? Are we going to have 500,000 by next fall? Are we going to have 150 by next month?
Of robotaxis?
Yes.
Well, we're trying to predict the future, and that's notoriously difficult due to the linear nature of time. Any number we get is bullish. Any number we get. So not 500,000 in a year, I don't think. The rapid expansion of the Robotaxi geofence is evidence that it's not a geofence, but a logistical fence. We don't have enough cars or safety monitors. Well, if it's a safety monitor, there was a great headline in, I don't remember who, that said, where is it? I got it here. Reuters, Tesla to roll out human-driven chauffeur service in Bay Area. Shut up. That's not what it is. It's an abundance of caution. It's operating within the legal framework. If I see this scaling and work, first of all, Waymo has tremendous value. Why? They're losing money. They're bleeding billions. And despite being the first mover in this space, it feels like they've hit a local maximum, that they've bonked their head into an invisible ceiling and they cannot surpass it. Maybe Tesla will have the same fate. Maybe they will grow to a certain point and go, oh, we need another little breakthrough. But between the different companies, Tesla's got the compute, they've got the processing, they've got the right approach, at least according to the former head of Cruise. I think he would know what the right approach is, especially if he's admitting that it's the opposite of what they did.
So so you don't think that the Robotaxi Dream is too bullish at this point? You're thinking that this will be a substantial contributor to the bottom line by quarter three of next year, as Elon has said?
I don't know when, but I'm not invested for the 1-year term. So to me, it doesn't matter if it's next year or 5 years. And I don't know what substantial means. It's really hard to hit a substantial number on a company this big with this much earnings, this much revenue. So it's definitely, the trajectory is correct. Short-term trading, if you think about options, is more challenging than long-term investing. Long-term investing, you just need to know line goes up and to the right? Whereas with options, short-term trading, guessing about a short-term thing like that, you need to predict not just the direction, but the momentum, the velocity, the caliber, what's the word I'm looking for? Magnitude. So yeah, over the long term, not even worried. Over the short term, I'll let someone else stress about it.
He says that there's a cannibalization risk from affordable EVs. So as the Model Q rolls out, we'll sell fewer S's, X's, 3s and Ys, which are higher priced. So they have a higher ASP, and they also have theoretically higher margins than the new affordable car might have. So is this cannibalization a concern?
Sure. Let's address that. When the Model 3 was announced, a lot of analysts said this is the end of the Model S. Who would buy a Model S for twice, 3 times as much money? And the answer is people. Model X will be dead from the Model Y. Did not happen. But the Model X could die soon. The new, slightly larger Model Y, I think, will bite into its sales. So let's say he's right. S and X sales go to 0. What does that do to the financials? Approximately nothing. If you look at the total volume sales between S and X, they're not consequential. And if the S and X reach the end of their lives, that is additional motivation to release the Roadster or something else that would take its place, something that would command an even higher margin. The beauty of the Roadster as it was shown, not as we suspect it's going to be, which is going to be insane, but just as it was shown, it was a car that did not cost more to build than a Model S or X. Sure, it had better brakes, but otherwise, that's about it. Same, very similar drivetrain, less metal, less atoms, and they were going to sell it for 200, 300,000. That's pure profit. That's the old Corvette model where you would just take a Camaro, put different brakes on it and a little bit different bodywork and sell it for 3 times the price. So this would be S and X sales could go to 0. Something else could or couldn't take its place, would not matter. Now let's move down market. Let's talk about the 3 and Y. Who's going to buy a Model 3 when for 5,000 less, 10,000 less, you could get a completely different car that's not nearly as good? Well, that's like saying the Corolla is going to destroy the Camry market. Did it? No, it's a different car. So that misunderstands fundamentally how auto segmentation works.
Okay, he says
Would
that.
you agree on that, by the way?
Yeah, oh yeah. I think it'll cannibalize. I think there will be some sales that will work that way. But as one pundit, and I can't remember who it was, said, it also works the other way, is that some people will go into the store, into a location, into a showroom, thinking they're going to buy the Model Q, and then when they see that for only 10,000 more, they can get all of this, they'll end up buying the more expensive vehicle.
And it's not necessarily 10,000 more, it's 80 a month more. 85, 80, 90, $87 a month more. Wait a minute, I can get that. And that's the whole point of having things to drag people into the showroom. Do you know how many people went to see the Cybertruck with their wife, their husband, whoever, and said, gosh, I really want this. And the spouse said, veto. But this Model Y looks pretty nice, actually. I had no idea. That was a big deal.
Yeah, yep. Okay, so his next theory is that Tesla, the stock, is getting more expensive without a corresponding improvement in the fundamentals.
Well, I love it. I love it. By the way, not to come down too hard on hunting alpha, these are good points that sound good on paper. And if you don't dig to the degree we do, they sound persuasive. The PE ratio is absolutely mental right now. It is very high. If you showed me if you showed me all these financials on paper, I would be hesitant to invest if I didn't know what the company was. But think of it like we're a pharmaceutical company with 150 PE, but we've got 7 new products that are in testing right now. 2 are ready for approval. That company is worth more than it looks like because they've got all these new things that they're about to release. And we've seen people succeed with that strategy in investing in pharmaceuticals, and we've seen people fail with it. So I would agree that today's earnings, not super exciting. And if you're looking at it as just a car selling company, then you're going to have a bad time. You're going to say, well, sales look like they're trending down. Yeah, maybe they are. But that ignores all the other channels. It ignores the billions in mega pack sales. Those are already real. Those are still ramping. Those are getting a little bonkers right now. It ignores so many things that you should not be ignoring. Dojo's out of the picture. That's not going to be a thing, but that doesn't mean some of the revenue potential from that stream, from that division, can still exist. If we're putting inference in the cars, there's still a potential to rent out the world's largest cluster to clients. And if people can opt in to let their car take on some training while you're sleeping, you could easily have millions of processors at your disposal. And you just charge a little margin, give some to the owner of the vehicle, whatever amount is agreeable. And yeah, so and then of course Robotaxi. And I mean, there's too many revenue streams to consider.
Yeah. His last one, he says the odds of a bearish move on Tesla, again, kind of a funny day to talk about this, versus the S&P are greater. So we have the S&P. Last time I checked, let me just pull it up here just for fun. Last time I checked, but let's see if it's still true. Whoops. A robocaller is calling me. Yes, it's true. The Dow Jones is down right now. NASDAQ is flat. S&P is flat, and Tesla's up $14.21. So his timing again is not very good, but he says there's odds of a bearish move on Tesla. The possibility that Tesla people on my show have talked about maybe it could go down to 275 before it goes to 500.
So $14.21 up. Yeah, well, that's just, a couple percent. Fun fact, that's more than I paid for the majority of my shares. So, by the way, when people go, oh, it's so far down, my brother, it can go down a whole lot more and I'll still be quite pleased. And I bet you wish you sold when it was higher. No, if I was the guy who was going to sell when it was higher, I would have sold when I doubled my money or when I 10x'd my money. But the reality is I bought Tesla when I did because I saw something that a lot of people did not. And I'm still holding it because I still see something that a lot of people do not. So the short-term moves make no sense. Is Tesla exposed in the greater macro? Yes, but all companies are, and it shifts every day. I've had someone ask me, why don't you do a show specific to the tariffs that impact Tesla? And I say, I've tried, but it keeps changing before I can finish the research. And the information is very hard to get. So Tesla does have political, geopolitical exposure, but all companies do. And if you're going to try and invest based around that, you're going to have a difficult time figuring out which company it is to invest in. Can you find a company that really is all in one country? If I could find that company, and they do exist, I would not invest in them because they're a very small company. So I would need to, figure that out. Yeah. So I think that concern is valid, but circumventing it is impossible.
So over the weekend, I noted that GM had said, hey, we're better positioned on the $7,500 problem because we have a variety of cars. We have, different models. We have some that are 100% gasoline. We have some that are hybrids. We have some that are electric, and we've got a bunch of new electrics coming on stream. So given our variety, we have this ability to shift and move. No matter which way the wind blows, we're ready to go. What do you think? Do you think that gives GM a huge advantage going forward?
I think it gives them an advantage in that they have a wonderful talking point that doesn't mean anything. What you have is, quick question, what's the main ingredient in all of your cars? It's steel, isn't it? So right there, you got a problem because we've got big steel tariffs. We've got big steel political issues. So that's great that you've got 100 products with 100 different problems. To me, that just sounds like more puzzle work. I don't see that. Clearly, I'm guessing from the tone of your voice, you agree with me on this, but the problems they face are not the same problems Tesla would face. They're different problems, but they're still problems.
Yeah,
And look at their EVs. Your EVs are mostly made in Mexico.
Yeah.
That's a problem because there's a big tariff always looming. It's going to take effect any day. Maybe it has now. Who knows? It keeps getting put off. That's going to convert that plant that makes a Blazer and Prologue into a factory that produces those cars for markets that are not the US. Maybe they'll have great deals in Canada. Maybe they'll start exporting them to more countries around the world, which they can do tariff free to a lot of countries because Mexico has 70 free trade agreements or 70 partner countries within their free trade. It's probably actually 69. Nice. But there's, yeah, they've got different problems.
Yeah, so what this guy doesn't bring up, of course, is the ability of Tesla to expand into new markets. Famously, over the weekend, Tesla opened their second showroom in India.
Yes.
And one pundit this morning that I talked about on my show earlier today said that he thought that was the reason for the move today, is because Tesla
Mm,
is showing aggression in India by putting out charging stations and opening the second location of their showroom. All of that ahead of shipments beginning, I think, in September.
nice. Well, Toyota is in as many countries as they're going to be in. General Motors, I would argue, any company that's been around more than 30, 40 years is probably in about as many markets as they plan to enter. Now, Tesla is not. Tesla's still adding new markets. There are countries that are increasingly warming to electric vehicles, where cars could be imported with no tariffs. Those countries will be welcoming to Tesla. Now, whether or not Tesla decides to set up their own shops there is another matter. If a market's too small, does it even make sense to go? The answer is eventually, maybe not today. Those are expanding. I had the displeasure of speaking with a young gentleman recently who had some very, very negative ideas about what India is in terms of economics and poverty. And he cited some anecdotes that he'd seen online of very poor people acting in very terrible ways. And I tried to point out that if you were to paint all Americans with the same brush as the worst of us, if you were to look at like those streets where people on drugs look like zombies and say, well, that's America for you, right off that country, to me, that's about the same thing. And you can argue percentages or numbers or whatever, but India has a lot of millionaires. It has a lot of the top 5%. I mean, the top 5% of India is, 50 million people. So it's pretty easy to deal with when you think of it that way. If you look at the showroom, the new showroom they just opened in Mumbai, it's in a beautiful little neighborhood. It looks like anywhere. It doesn't look like the crazy chaos you see around the train station. So that market will expand. But like you said, there's plenty of other markets. And this person apparently forgot to even mention Tesla Energy, which is ginormous and growing rapidly. And I don't care how savage or primitive you think a country is, they've still got the power on. And if they've got the power on, they probably can put in some mega packs to make it a little more reliable, a little more affordable. And that's what we're going to see more and more of.
Yeah, and I'm expecting, of course, I'm sure you are too, that something maybe even less expensive than the Model Q is likely to be headed towards India at some point. Now, that might be 2 years down the road, but or maybe even three. But definitely, once you've got your foot in the door and you find out how early sales happen with regard to the Y, the 3, and eventually the Q. It'll give you some idea as to whether maybe a $20,000 vehicle there would be a really big seller, and maybe you make set up a factory in India to specifically make a very inexpensive vehicle.
And every time you do that, if you make that smaller, cheaper car, you can still export it. There are people who would love to get their hands on it at any price in countries like this. You have to look at the West has been paving for 100 years. We've been focusing on drivability of roads for 100 years. India has not. A lot of countries have not. Most countries, all countries but one, don't have the kind of money to spend on infrastructure like China does. That one being China. If you look at the roads in somewhere like India, they can be a bit challenging. And I don't mean the traffic, I mean the road conditions. As I understand it from people I've spoken to in these countries, in India and Nepal, ground clearance is the name of the game.
Oh,
So that leads me to believe that they would want, ideally, they'd want the queue to be something that they could easily adjust with just a suspension swap, with just using different suspension parts to add 2-3 inches of clearance so that you're not just using it as a toboggan everywhere you go.
all right. Well, I think I addressed the main issues that Hunting Alpha has put up here. I think we've talked about it many, many times before. Anybody who's investing in Tesla at these levels is almost certainly investing because they believe in Robotaxi and or they believe in Optimus, and probably most people believe in both as being something that will be real and very, very profitable in the medium term. As you point out, maybe some people are thinking 1 year, maybe some people are thinking 5, but a 5-year horizon is not a long horizon for an investor. And if you take your worst case scenario for 5 years from now and add in semi, add in energy, add in Robotaxi, add in Optimus, and probably products that we don't even know are going to happen between now and then, and you backdate that to current value, you're probably going to find out that it's probably undervalued at this point by maybe an order of magnitude or close.
I'll trust you on that. I was told there would be no math.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'll never do that again. But
I don't believe you.
what I will do again is I will have you on again in 5 minutes, which will probably actually be Tuesday night for people that are watching the show. But Brian, you got any last thoughts about this subject?
It's good to ask hard questions. It's good to look at people like Hunting Alpha. I wouldn't block someone like that unless they're being crazy. I don't think he's being crazy. I think he's not deep in the weeds like we are. Ask those questions. If people like us were to instead read that and throw up our hands and go, he's just a hater, that's not a rebuttal. What we're trying to provide is the context. And if context matters, subscribe to Randy. Maybe just subscribe to him.
Yeah, well, if you haven't already done that, what in the world is going on anyway? And then you can subscribe to this guy too.
2 for 1.
That'd be a 2-for-1 deal. I mean, we'll charge exactly the same amount. I mean, there's no
Equal.
extra for them to subscribe to both.
No tariff yet.
No tariff yet. And that would be
zero.
Future Asa would be the name of that program over there. Brian, seeing you later. And for all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.